It's been a minute since we've done a Scariest Games Top 10, but I thought I would spin it on its head today. First-person shooters are usually a bit of power fantasy, but that doesn't mean they can't keep you on your toes, right? I mean, what is up, everybody? Jimmy your Chaos, welcome to the channel. Today, we're going to be talking about my picks for the 10 scariest FPS games ever made. So if you're looking for a fun but unsettling FPS experience, stick around to the end because you should add these to your backlog. Drop a like on the video, guys. Make sure you're subscribed. And at number 10... Singularity. Released back in 2010, developed by none other than Raven Software before they were part of the Call of Duty team, Singularity was a horror FPS that deals with time travel. You had the Cold War, super unique gadgets, gameplay mechanics. The atmosphere is really what sells the game. Raven Software is amazing at making something really gritty, unsettling worlds for you to travel through, and the action was super immersive in a kind of gross way. Singularity was compared to BioShock for its gameplay, but it reviewed actually pretty well. It's often considered to be one of the most underrated FPS games of that time. If you're someone who likes Cold War era horror stories, this game might be right what you're looking for if you're looking for something to play. It's really going to get under your skin at certain moments. Definitely one of the more just subtle, scary games on this list, but it's worth playing if you've never tried it. Before we move on, guys, if you get anything from g2a.com, consider using code CHAOS. The link is at the top of the description. At number 9, Scorn. Now, it's less of a first-person shooter, more of a first-person horror adventure, but I'm still putting it on the list since there's plenty of shooting and it's all in first person. Plus, if you're looking for a game that's going to scare you, Scorn is going to do that. You're venturing through a nightmare world with a bunch of technopunk creatures running around, trying to rip you apart in horrific ways. You'll have to venture around the environments, explore everything in order to figure out how to get to the next area, but you'll constantly be looking over your shoulder for one of the creepy crawly things trying to stop you. The plot is explained slowly throughout the experience, and there's an interesting story going on in the background, but if you're just there for a straightforward, unsettling first-person horror experience with a little bit of shooting, Scorn delivers that. That being said, if you don't have a strong stomach for body horror, you might want to pass on this one. At number 8, Dusk. It's an indie boomer shooter released for the PC in 2018. In that sense, has been ported to consoles, and I'm here to implore you to try it. The gameplay and presentation is heavily inspired by classic shooters like Doom and Quake, but the atmosphere is why it gets on the list today. The game takes place in a rural Pennsylvania area. You play as a random guy who starts encountering various demons and obsessed people trying to kill him, which results in him discovering a giant network of Lovecraft-style ruins underground. The military, they try to get involved. They all get possessed. All hell breaks loose. Now you have to figure out how to put a stop to everything. 95% of the gameplay is a fast-paced boomer shooter fun experience, but the remaining 5% is some really unsettling atmospheric moments of discovering messed up demons, industrial horror, and a lot more. You know how some of the early 3D games from the 90s were weirdly unsettling with their blocky characters and their chunky sound design? Well, Dusk leans into that hard. And it makes for a game that's extremely fun, but also very creepy at certain parts. And there's some good old-fashioned jump scares hidden at certain points to keep you on your toes. At number 7, Metro 2033. The first of the Metro series. Released in 2010, follows a group of survivors in Moscow. They created a society in the metro tunnels under the city following a nuclear war. Now, throughout the game, you venture around the claustrophobic tunnels of the metro system while encountering hostile groups of survivors, as well as some strange mutated creatures who have found their way underground. You'll even have to occasionally put on a gas mask and try to traverse the surface that's been covered in radiation for years and mutates everything. Metro is an extremely atmospheric game. It's really good at making you feel tense. You never know what you're going to find when you walk around the tunnels. Once you go up to the surface, there's absolutely no telling what messed up monster or human is going to try to rip you apart. On top of that, the writing was top notch. It's easy to see why this turned into a massive franchise. Metro 2033 may not be the best game in the series, but it's the one that started them all, and I would argue it's also the scariest. At number 6, Prey in 2006. You may have expected me to put the 2017 Prey reboot here, and while that one is a better game, it's not as much of a horror game. Prey 2006 mostly is. Frankly, I think Prey 2006 is one of the most underrated games of its time, and if you can somehow get your hands on it, you could go play through it or just watch a long play on YouTube. You play as a Cherokee man who is sucked into this alien ship called the Sphere. You have to explore it, find your girlfriend, find your grandfather, who are also sucked in with you. As you venture through the ship trying to figure out where everyone's being held and how you're supposed to get off, you encounter all kinds of things. Horrific visuals, creepy moments of tension, some good old-fashioned mid-2000s body horror. Prey is a fantastic game. Now, I know the 2017 version is one of the one people attached to, but I wish the original had been preserved a bit better because it's almost impossible to get your hands on it unless you have an Xbox 360. And then you have to find a disc lying around somewhere. But if you can play it, do it. It's creepy in that special way that only mid-2000 ID Tech games were. Now we arrive at the top 5. Cry of Fear. The story behind this game is pretty awesome. Cry of Fear was originally a mod for the original Half-Life, released in 2012, but it was later given a standalone release after it was so popular. You play as a Swedish teenager running through a corrupted version of Stockholm. You'll have to fend off tons of creepy monsters that are roaming around the streets. The gunplay, very similar to Half-Life 1, but the experience is different. Features a much creepier atmosphere, really cool presentation of the story and the narrative. The fact that it was a mod for an existing game is pretty amazing to me. It goes to show what can be achieved by a passionate team of gamers who have a new vision for an existing game. But Cry of Fear is absolutely terrifying at certain moments. Takes full advantage of that inherent janky fear that comes with a lot of early 2000s shooters. It's free to play on PC, can run on basically anything. Give it a try. I think it's one of the best indie horror FPS games of all time. At number 4, Clive Barker's Undying. Now, Clive is one of the most acclaimed horror writers of all time. He worked on several video games back in the day. You probably remember his game called Jericho from 2007, but I would argue that his 2001 game, Undying, is much better, much scarier. You play as a paranormal investigator in the 20s. You're looking for your friend's estate where a bunch of weird things are happening. You quickly find out how dark and violent things have gotten under the cover of night. In addition to FPS weapons of the 20s, you also have to access some magic spells, which I know is a little weird, to keep the gameplay interesting and give you a bit more of a fighting chance against the enemies waiting around every corner as you run around the estate and solve puzzles and try to figure out what you're supposed to be stopping. The atmosphere of the game is top-notch, keeps you on your toes, never slows down. If you like late 90s and early 2000s shooters like Quake and Unreal, but you want it more grounded and horror-focused with a twist, this may be it. Seriously. At number 3, Doom 3. Now, it's a controversial game among Doom fans because of how different it was from everything in the series, but I've always had a soft spot for it, and it's aged phenomenally. As opposed to the other Doom games, which are all horror-inspired fast-paced shooters, Doom 3 is a slower-paced horror FPS that goes out of its way to creep you out and make you feel like death is constantly breathing down your neck. You're a soldier who's on a Mars base where hell invaded and they took over. You have to fight off demons. You have to explore the facility, figure out how you're going to get back to Earth in one piece. To me, what makes Doom 3 unsettling is the lighting. A lot of the game is pitch black as long as you're not playing the BFG edition re-release, and you'll have to put your gun down to whip out your flashlight and see where you're going, which that often leads to pretty freaky moments of thinking you're safe only to pull your flashlight out and there's a Hell Knight right in your face about to rip you in half. The atmosphere in the game is amazing. Still looks and plays good today despite being 20 years old. Give it a try if you haven't. It's nothing like the new Doom games, so don't go in it expecting that kind of experience. But this game deserves to be played. Super fun once it gets going. Really freaking good at freaking you out, making you feel like there's a bunch of people. Makes you feel like you're the only one trying to stop the forces of hell, which is it. At number 2, System Shock the Remake. System Shock is one of the games that really proved what could be done with a horror game in first person. Now, the remake was in development for a long time. Even had to be completely restarted at one point. But the end result was worth it. The System Shock remake finally dropped in 2023 and was a very faithful update of the original game's story. You had the atmosphere, the level design, but you had updated gameplay to make it less oppressive to new players because the original was admittedly a bit obtuse with its instructions and RPG mechanics. You play as a security hacker, arrives on a space station, got a hostile AI takeover, plunges the entire place into chaos. You have to explore the station to figure out how to counter the evil AI while also fighting off survivors who have gone insane as well as weird mutants that have gotten onto the station because of reasons that I don't know. Might be a little unfair to put this on a list of FPS games because it's not that much of a shooter, but it's a fantastic remake of an extremely influential first-person horror game, so bam, there it is. And at number 1 today, I forgot to put this on a list not too long ago, and somebody called me out on it. Not today. Fear. Here it is. Basically the blueprint for all modern horror or FPS games, still better than most of them. Released in 2005, developed by Monolith Productions. You played as an elite soldier as part of the First Encounter Assault Recon program. They try to investigate paranormal happenings at a private military complex. The atmosphere and the monster design of Fear is heavily inspired by classic Japanese horror movies, and you'll constantly be getting snuck up on by creepy demons and psychics and a hauntingly good AI. Frankly, the AI of Fear is what makes it scary. It's some of the most sophisticated in gaming history. The enemy NPCs will pay attention to how you play the game and how you avoid hostiles, and then they will use it against you. They'll sneak up on you and anticipate where you're going to go. The lightings and the graphics of the game are also incredible. They've aged great. It's not only a great story with interesting characters and threats, it's also a technical marvel with some of the most unique scares in horror FPS history. Now, it's a little hard to find for consoles, but the PC version is readily available on Steam, and it's almost 20 years old, so you can basically run it on any computer. I mean, dim the lights, put on your headset. If you're brave enough, go do it. I may actually live stream this now that I think about it. There you go, guys. Let me know one scary FPS game that didn't make the list that should have, and I'll see you soon.